Welcome to Life Coach Live. Today we are excited to jump into a very important topic of conversation, and the talk is titled Be You. And first, before we jump in, Paul, how are you doing?
I'm doing great today, Tyler. It's been a bit of a busy week, but I really look forward to us having these conversations a couple of times a week. And yeah, I'm excited about this one. It's something that we've had a couple of offline conversations about over the last little while. And, it is something that I've personally, had some challenges with over the years, over my journey, that ability to be able to be confident about my message and to be able to confidently put myself out there and become comfortable being visible, and everything that's associated with that is a big stepping stone that most of us that are wanting to be successful coaches and successful business owners and entrepreneurs need to sort of find a way to manage that journey through that step. And it's a bit of an ongoing step in many ways. We're constantly sort of evolving and growing, but yeah, really interested to dive in and see where this conversation goes today.
Yeah. And if there's any secret recipe for success, what if it was being you and being authentic? What if that was the key to happiness and success and joy and fulfillment? What if that was the actual solution?
I think you've just hit the nail on the head in many ways. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's funny, because we're always looking up externally like, oh, I should be more like so-and-so because so-and-so appears to have it all. I should be, or, and I mean, we've heard that be yourself. It's coming to mind. I remember as a teenager, I was with my father and some of his friends, and we were sitting at a table, and they were actually really into like self-development, personal growth. They were, I think pretty much all of them there they were facilitators of personal growth things. They were, in a way, I suppose, back then they were life coaches without necessarily calling themselves life coaches. And we did a little exercise of presenting ourselves at the table to each other, and for the other people to kind of reflect back what it was that they see. And I remember my attempt of when it was my turn for them to reflect back what they saw, I did a pose, like something like like you might see in a magazine. You know how you see these people doing selfies, like particular teenagers, like they kind of pout their lips up a bit, like they're. Do you know what I'm talking about? And so because what it reminded me, I took a photograph. My buddy took a photo. He was in photography class in high school, and he took a photograph, and I had a bit of a pose in it. And I really thought that was like the coolest, best photo of me. So I was trying to reenact how I was in that particular photo. Anyways, the point being was that I got like such a kind of like almost booze, like, ooh, like none of them liked it or approved or anything like that, And I've never forgotten that, and what if the journey, and particularly when you're young, like you're always concerned what your friends think and your peers, and, or you get made fun of. So you want to conform, you want to just, you don't want to stand out. But, like in business, and in life, you don't want to be lost in the crowd. You want to be unique. You want to be true. And the thing is if being you is the true key to success, it's actually the most natural thing for us to be. It's actually in one warped sense, for most of us, it's the hardest thing for us to be. But in truth, it's actually it should be the easiest, most natural thing for us to be.
Couldn't agree more. And I completely agree with everything you said, but it's interesting thinking back about, particularly in your teenage years. In my teenage years, I became, quite self-conscious. I would be sitting at the back of the class, not wanting to put my hand up in the air, not wanting to look silly in front of everyone. But I think that is a behavior that we learn, because if you go back further, when we're toddlers, we've spoken about this before, when we're toddlers, we don't have that. 3-4-year-olds are out just being themselves and having fun and, getting into mischief and getting into trouble being themselves. But we kind of learn to, I like what you said there as well about learning to conform. I think that's a really interesting thing, because we have to conform to a certain, we live in a society that has rules. We have laws, we have rules that we have to abide by. We go through the educational system being taught to stick to the rules, and we learn in many ways to, we can't just do everything that we're wanting to do. We can't just be our authentic selves in many ways. And I think this process of, once we start going down that self-development journey, particularly when we are wanting to become a coach and we're wanting to start a coaching business, this is all about unlearning more than it is about learning. It's about letting go of all that stuff that we've put on to protect us, and to let some of that go and let that authentic version of ourselves sort of shine through a little bit more. Easy to say, quite difficult to put into practice, because our fears, our worries, the things that are, on our mind when it comes to the prospect of us putting ourselves out there, they're very, very real to us at that time when we're experiencing them. And, that was, a big part of the challenge that I personally faced over the last 4 or 5 years, that ability to be able to even get onto a Facebook Live. Only 2 or 3 years ago, there's no way known I could have trusted myself to be able to get onto a live call with what I would actually come out with. I couldn't have done that. And, I think this is just a big part of, it's a really big question and a big topic that, that we can get into today. And as I said, excited to sort of talk about, what some of these things that we can do potentially to allow ourselves, or to give ourselves permission to be ourselves. I think that's an interesting thing to think through as well.
Mm. Yeah, and it's as you're talking, and I'm looking at this title, "Be You," and I'm like thinking, it is this really a good message to build a business around? Like the truth of the matter is, what we're saying is, you don't need to do, or it's like, we've spoken about this, you already have everything, you already are everything. You just need to embrace it and be brave and embody it, and practice. I think that's where what's necessary is getting the practice in, because it doesn't come naturally to most of us. It should be it should be the most natural thing on earth for each of us, but I think we need to actually work at it, and we need to kind of let go of all the stuff, the what you were talking about, the false pretenses that we adopt all the masks and everything. But in terms of, so the next slide here is, so the really what we're talking about is being seen for who you really are, and for a lot of us, really, and I'll speak for myself, there's a vulnerability there to be seen for who I really am. Like, what if people don't like me? What if people are mean as a result of, here I am, embracing my genuine, authentic self, and all these people are giving me negative feedback and criticizing and all that kind of, you're not good enough and blah blah blah. But I think if you become secure in yourself, all of that other stuff doesn't reach you. It doesn't. I don't know if this is making sense, Paul.
It does to me. It makes sense. It's, this is where it actually starts to make sense for me, because I love what you said earlier. You said something to the effect that, this is a simple message. But I think the challenge that we have is what you said about embodiment. It's not the information. The information is, we can conceptualize the idea of us needing to be our authentic self. Most of us can relate to that. Most of us can relate to what that would look like. We have an understanding of who we are without all the protection that we put in place. And where I think be seen comes in is, most of us are probably much more likely to be comfortable being ourselves with no one watching. I know myself. I am, since COVID times, messing around learning the guitar, and with nobody watching me, I can practice. I'm not self-conscious about anything at all, and I absolutely love it. But the second I get the sense that somebody is watching, and it could be anyone, it could be my family members or anyone else, I'm not at that stage yet where I can perform that thing in front of anybody just yet. Not really. And I think this is where be seen is such an important thing to think through, because as a business owner, we need to be able to get our message out there. For us to be able to get coaching clients and have conversations and, talk to people about potentially coming into our world, coming into our business, we need to be comfortable putting our message out there. And back to what you were mentioning earlier, Tyler, if we're trying to please absolutely everybody, or actually if we're needing positive reinforcement and feedback from everybody that hears our message, we're going to have a really difficult time, because the more authentic we are, the more polarizing we're going to be. And I think that is an awesome thing to, the more authentic we are, the more people are going to the more the right people are going to really resonate with our message. And what difference does it make if someone doesn't? That was a really difficult thing for me to get past, because the fear and the thought of someone not resonating with what I've got to say, or someone not understanding why I've gone down this path of becoming a life coach, or not even, even less than that, not even paying any attention at all. These were real worries and fears that took a long time to be able to work through and come out the other side. And, this whole idea of being seen, I think it is, it comes back to an internal permission that we give ourselves to put ourselves out there. It's not necessarily about others seeing us. It's about us being comfortable with ourselves, putting our message out to the world and not being attached to whatever might come back. There's positives, there's negatives, there's you touched on, potential negative feedback, but everybody who comes into our coaching business is going to come into our business through a conversation that started from putting ourselves out there in some way. And, again, it's not easy. It's not something that we, these fears are real to us in the moment when we're feeling it. That anxiety that we feel is real. And being involved in, safe areas, safe places where you can start to take the small steps that are needed to start making progress in terms of overcoming some of these challenges that we face is, it's all part of moving towards that place where we can be comfortable being seen. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah, no, it does. I'm starting to chuckle a bit because, like you and I think when we first started talking, and this has happened, with a variety, it's not just you and I, this is with a variety of people. But I think when you and I started talking, like we didn't record our conversations. And I look back and I remember how much you and I would change. And I'll just speak for myself. As soon as we started recording, how like unnatural or like guarded, am I saying, like all of these, do you remember that process, what that was like?
Yeah.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
But the only way to come out the other side and to be comfortable is by putting in that practice and doing the thing. There is no way for us to think our way through to being proficient and comfortable with anything that we currently have a fear and anxiety around.
And I think one of the goals was for me was it should be the same, whether it's being recorded or not, that I'm the same. I'm equally as comfortable, equally myself, and I would say that, like what we're talking about is after some getting our reps in, getting our practices in, it does become like that, and really, I think the benefit of being seen is that it frees us up a little bit. We're not bound by our fears. We're not limited by our fears. So now we get to a place where, we could be on a live broadcast, and maybe it's on a platform or something where there's thousands of people watching, and one of the things that we've discovered is just getting the reps in. We were scared just with the camera on. Nobody was even watching. It was just, it's fascinating. Yeah. Yeah. So, and so many of us are like, as business owners, we are, I'm assuming most of us are on social media, and we are observing others. So others are being seen, and it's fascinating. I wonder what the percentage of people, what the percentages are in terms of people that are, comfortable being seen. They're the ones creating content and recording, and compared to the amount of people that don't do that, but are spending a lot of time on social media observing others, right? I'm imagining that if my gut is saying maybe 7 to 13% are creating content, and the other 90%, not to say that people don't post stuff for just their little friends or whatever, but in terms of from a business standpoint, that's a good question. Like how many people, and wouldn't you say that today, Paul, that it's kind of a necessity as a business owner?
Well, we do, as a business owner, we need people coming into our business. And there's multiple different ways that could be. But we need to be comfortable within ourselves, talking about who we are, what our offer is, how we're going to be the best, a good solution to be able to manage the problems of others. We need to be able to help the potential clients that are going to be coming into our world gain an element of trust with us. And, social media, putting ourselves out there on social media, our marketing through email, for example, would all be included in this. But it's also the conversations that we're having with these people. Sales calls, conversations. In some ways, I'd be putting all of this in the bucket of just the ability to make ourselves visible and to put ourselves out and be comfortable having our message go out to the world. And I think, the challenge that a lot of us have when we're starting out is we are comparing ourselves to others. Most of us are coming from a place where we're new to business. We're coming from a place where we might have been employed in, your traditional employment structures. This is the first time we're even considering a self-employed entrepreneur style work situation. And there's a lot to learn, no doubt. So we're looking around at what everyone else is doing around us. But we're comparing ourselves to, posts that are being posted by marketing teams with an unlimited budget. We're comparing ourselves with coaches and the mentors that we look up to that are many, many levels above us in terms of their experience. And we're trying to compete. In our mind anyway, we're trying to create a message or create content that is going to line up and match with the things that we're watching around us. And I think it's our natural instinct, I think, to, compare with what others around us are doing. But I think the big thing that we need to get across in terms of putting our message out there and being seen and being comfortable putting our message out to the world is to, find a way to look less around at what other people are doing around us and to start just being truly comfortable with the message that we are wanting to get out ourselves. And that doesn't have to be anything massively complicated. It doesn't have to be full production video. It can be as simple as the quotes and the voice that we want to try and put across. Simple little videos. It could be anything, but we want to get to a place where we're comfortable being ourselves, trusting ourselves in the decisions that we're making about the message that we're putting out, and making progress. We just want to get ourselves in motion and start making progress, which I think is it's a powerful place to finally get to, when we can. I remember sort of getting to that place where we started to get this message out for this Life Coach Live thing. It was a fantastic thing to be able to start doing. And the confidence and, just by doing it, the skills that we're developing along the way, they're kind of byproducts of just being comfortable putting yourself out there. And, I know that there's also a lot of resistance and there's a lot of hurdles and the fears and worries. There's a lot that we need to overcome. But there are ways we can get through that. And there's support out there. There's, it's not something that you need to go through alone. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel, but we can learn from others without specifically looking at the messages that others are putting out. We can find support and encouragement and, start to develop that self-belief in ourselves in terms of, it's really just understanding what our next step's going to be. What's the next thing we're going to try? And then find the courage to take that action and see what happens. We don't know what the results are going to be. We just take that action and we start to build that forward momentum.
Yeah. And the question becomes, what is my message? Like we can spend hours on social media looking and listening to what everybody else's content and whatever they're producing. But really, I think time and attention and energy needs to be put towards understanding what our own message is, and gaining confidence and clarity around that is really important. I feel like we all have a message. We all have, and one of the exercises that I've done and I'd like to recommend is, like if you knew you were dying, and you only had 5 minutes to express or communicate a message before you're leaving this earth, and you could record that message for anyone to hear, what would that message be? I think that's a very powerful exercise. And what it does is and it's hard to fabricate. The problem with this exercise is it's hard to fabricate the reality of the situation that I just described. If you truly only had 5 minutes, and this was it. This was your last opportunity to speak to humanity, to speak to future generations. What is it that you want them to know? What's most important? And it's a powerful thing to consider. And I know that we're talking a little bit again, and we go back and forth, Paul, with the personal and the business. And I think the context in which this exercise applies to is more of at a personal level. Like, what is it that you personally value and prioritize? What is it that you have personally found gained the most meaning from in your life thus far? And but I think if you practice doing it at a personal level, I think doing it at a business level becomes much easier. And or not, you can just stick with the business level. You can, and the reason why I kind of flip-flop on this is because I've been in business for myself for many years. And so, I've struggled back and forth over the years, like, which identity am I communicating from? Is it my business? Is it my role? Is it what I do? Is it me as a contractor, what services I can provide? Or is it me as a human being? And I think for me, Paul, what's transpired over the years is that there's more meaning and fulfillment from me at a personal level, having those connections with people. And I think that that's why I was drawn to becoming a life coach, is because we can establish some authentic, meaningful relationships with our clients. So I think, that's my ideas, and on this slide, be heard. Listen to your heart. Find out what your heart wants you to communicate, in words. Yeah.
No, that's fantastic, Tyler. What's coming up for me reading this slide, be heard, is this idea of potentially where we're wanting to be heard. We're wanting others to hear our message. And, I would be probably encouraging people to flip that around. And what I heard you saying there, Tyler, is, it's not necessarily the hearing of the external world hearing us. It's, listening to our inner dialogue and connecting with our inner values and, the things that are most important to us. And, I couldn't agree more that, from a personal level, what I personally value is very much in line with what I would value from a business point of view. And I actually think that's where, there's part of the conflict that we have as a coach creeps in, because we kind of know, we see these marketing messages and sales messages. And, I hear this all the time in my business that, I don't want to be this pushy sales person, this car salesman persona, we'll call it. And, I think from that, we have to have a bit of a think about who it is and what it is that we do want to be. And if we're honest with ourselves, we've got a set of values that we want to be able to employ when we go through our coaching. And I think that's a much easier thing for us to imagine and envisage. We kind of know why we got into coaching, and that's the thing that we love, and we just want to spend our time coaching. But for us to be able to do that, we do need to be able to find a way to be able to connect and meet new people and have new people that we don't know today come into our world. And, there's many ways that could be done. We could do that. We could outsource that even. We could have other companies, providing leads coming through to us, and we could just be having our calendar filled up. Even if we did that, though, we're still having to have those initial conversations, which, as I was touching on earlier, it's a similar thing. We need to be able to build rapport. We need to be able to connect. We need to be able to help them like and trust us enough to be able to, for them to want to go ahead with any sort of offer that we might be putting forward. But for most of us, a big part of getting our building our awareness and having people connect with us is going to be us taking responsibility for putting some form of message out to the world and having people connect through us through those channels. And, yes, we want the world to hear us. But, I think we need to, like we've been talking about in our live coaching path, we need to be clear on who we are. We need to do this inner work to understand what our message is. I can see that you've changed the slide there, Tyler, and I completely resonate with that. It is about being understood. It is, understanding ourselves, being comfortable being ourselves and putting that message out to the world. And hopefully we're going to resonate with people who understand that message in return, which I think is a powerful thing. It means the people who do come into our world, we're not having people connect with us under any sort of false pretenses. We're still being truthful and honest to our values. There are skills that we can develop and learn along the way to, help those conversations be started. But ultimately, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for people who are going to resonate with us on a genuinely honest level. And the only way we can have those people connect with us is for us to be comfortable putting that message out to the world in the first place.
Yeah, that's right. And I did change slides. So yeah, I find this, the word understand is kind of an interesting word, because it means to me that we have to stand under something, meaning that there's something that that we hold in a very high regard. It's like a guiding principle that we stand under, and we understand what that principle is. And I think in order to really be understood, we need to understand ourselves. How can we expect other people to understand us if we don't truly understand ourselves? And you're bang on. That is, Paul, because you mentioned that the live coaching path, the 4 big questions are really designed to gain deeper insight and clarity about very important things about who we are and why we're here and how we want to be and what we want to do. What our cause is, what our purpose is, what our mission is, what our goals are, what our vision is. Who are we really? And these are the important things for us to understand so that we can communicate, we can find common unity with other people, with our tribe, with our community, common unity, communicate. We're communing with people at a deeper level, at a level that resonates, that's true and authentic, where people are supported and encouraged to be themselves and to be honest and to be real and to be vulnerable and to learn to value their true authentic version of themselves, to hold that as their highest goal and aim in life. And all of the social media and video and being seen and heard, like, we know creating videos is really, it's a fantastic way of being seen and heard. You can record your message, and what if you have a presentation, you can record it once and people can access it 24/7 from anywhere in the world. And so there's a lot of leverage in doing that. But to get to the place where you're able to communicate and to record and to post and to publish and promote that message, that's where the practice and the facing our resistance and our fears come in. And in order to get to that place where all of these things kind of come together, so that ultimately we can be understood. And in our understanding of ourselves, Paul, and the way we communicate to others, hopefully others can understand themselves.
Absolutely. That's what this is all about. As coaches, as business owners, we're going through a journey, and that journey is to understand ourselves. And that's exactly what we're helping others do in their own lives. When we're talking about gaining awareness, which is the cornerstone of a lot of what we're doing as coaches, that's what awareness is. It's understanding.
That's right. Yeah, and so I don't want to flog our live coaching path to death here, but in all sincerity and respect and humility, even the live coaching path is something that, if you're ready for it, can serve and support you in your personal life, in your business life, and at different levels as well. And so it's really worth checking out. And you're gaining a lot of knowledge about it every time you tune in for a life coach live conversation, because really, Paul, it always seems to come back to these four big questions: our identity, our vision, our mission, and our goals. So
it does. Yeah, it does. And one of the potential challenges, or one of the things that people who are struggling with this visibility piece, this is where I was, and I was very much looking externally. What is it that I need to do? And that's where confusion reigns. There are an unlimited number of things that are options that we could be doing. We're constantly getting bombarded with marketing materials saying you need this, if you only did this, things are going to work out well for you. And I think that is where we can start to gain some certainty by starting within. It is something that we are, when we're a beginner, there is an element of uncertainty, and success is developing much more certainty about what's required. In the years to come, hopefully we can look back and say, well, now I know what is required. Now I've developed a sense of certainty, but right now we need to get from this place of being uncertain and start taking steps in that direction. And I firmly believe, if we can stop seeking or needing to get external certainty on things that we just can't control and just start developing that sense of inner trust, inner confidence in our decision making, in our ability to be able to design what that next step is going to look like and the next thing we're going to be able to try, or the next thing that we want to try, that is everything. And it's detaching from what everyone else is doing. It's just piece by piece, gradually becoming clear on what our message is going to be. But the only way we get there, like things like, what should my niche be? What should my offer look like? The way to work through the answers to these questions is by just starting to do the work. Just testing, starting conversations, seeing what people that you think you might be the perfect solution for are actually thinking. Talk to them. I can't encourage that enough. Just getting out and testing the ideas that you have, just trying different things and seeing what works and learning from the things that don't quite work and doubling down on the things that do work well. Just getting started, starting from, coming back to those questions of, who am I? What's most important to me? What are my values? What is it that I want to try and get across? And I think the clearer we can become on that, the more certainty we have in what that next step is going to look like.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think we're leading anyone astray, or we're giving anyone bad advice when we tell them to be themselves, to know themselves, and to develop a healthy respect for oneself. And that's really how we're able to connect with other people, is when we have a high regard for our true and authentic self. We value the true and authentic self of others. If we can't recognize it in ourselves, how on earth can we recognize it in each other? So this is a great message, Paul, and I'm so thrilled that we are able to do this for ourselves, and to support each other in doing it, and to also support our clients and the audience, viewers of Life Coach Live. For me, it's a very fulfilling. It's an honor and a privilege.
Absolutely, I echo that 100%. That was another great conversation, and like as we've said before, I think I get as much out of this as hopefully anyone that's listening. And if anyone does resonate with this message, please download the ebook, which we'll leave a link for in the description. But more importantly, reach out and start a conversation. If you've got anything to say, or if you want to connect with us, we're here to talk. So yeah, look forward to talking soon.
Absolutely. Paul, it's been fantastic. I look forward to doing this again with you again soon. Until then, all the best.
Bye for now.